We're live. Do y'all
We
thing.
are live.
We are
Wow.
live.
All right. Hey, everybody. It's the one, the only, the Senior Silverback himself with the Master of the Flux Capacitor on another Mornings with V and CJ. So strap in your seatbelts, get ready, because we're about to get deep dive into the news and the views that's important to you. And with that being said, guys, check out our sponsors, myfreedomnow.us, myfreedomnow.us. Get funded, get clean, get your credit clean, get your debt cleaned up, get the money you need. Myfreedomnow.us. Find out how you can get $600,000 unsecured with myfreedomnow.us. Also, check us out on Twitter at The Rogue Money, Facebook, Rogue Money, and RogueMoney.net. And most importantly, guys, subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you are alerted to when we upload newer shows. With that being said, CJ, what is going on?
I think the desert heat is affecting him in the sandbox V.
I think the sandbox is having problems. What do you think?
Massive problems everywhere. Where to start? Where do you begin?
Where do we start in the sandbox? Let us talk about the sandbox. Let's start with what London Paul just talked to us about on Monday. That the Saudis were going to give these Qataris a 24-hour military ultimatum, and voila! It is here.
Boom. Just like that.
Just like that, dog. Just like that. Shortly after imposing a naval blockade in the immediate aftermath of the Qatari diplomatic crisis, one which left a small Gulf nation not only politically isolated and with severed ties to its neighbors, but potentially locked out of maritime trade and crippling its oil and LNG exports on Tuesday. Sky News Arabia reported that the Saudi Arabia has given Qatar 24 hours ultimatum starting tonight to fulfill 10 conditions that have been conveyed to Kuwait, which is currently involved in the role of mediator between Saudi and Qatar. According to some of the demands, is as Qatar end all ties with the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas. Okay, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of meat there, right there. Just in that statement.
Break it down, V. Break it down.
I'm gonna jump into it. There's a little bit more here. Well, there was a little information of the ultimatum, and more importantly, what happens should Qatar not comply. Al Jazeera reported that Kuwait's Emir Sheikh Sabah left Saudi Arabia on Tuesday after holding mediation talks with King Salman. No details were given. All right, so here's the deal. So the pot is calling the kettle black here, CJ. They're telling the Qataris to end support for the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas. Why does not Qatar say, why don't you end support for Al-Qaeda and ISIS? It can be a serious back and forth over here. Okay? Now, when I see Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas, I see two things. I see British intelligence, which is what Muslim Brotherhood is. Okay? And I see Hamas, which is basically the Mossad. Okay? The Hamas was created by Mossad as a counterweight to Hezbollah. That is a historical fact. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. So, what is he saying here? Again, CJ, the fog of war is thick. It's extremely thick. Qatar is in a situation of desperation. What are they going to do? Now, what is Saudi Arabia doing? What are the rest of these Arab states doing? Are they making a move here? Have they decided to join hands, as one theory would suggest? Have they decided to join hands and decided to go against the deep state that's been in operation there for the longest time ever, the American and British deep state, okay? Which is what the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, and ISIS and all these guys are now, because it's amazing that this happened within a week after Trump being in the Middle East, CJ. Trump said, okay, it's time for you to cut off all funding to terrorists. And all of a sudden, a week later, boom, this happens. Not coincidence. Something is afoot. I don't know exactly, what is going to be coming. There's a lot of people saying a lot of different angles. I think this is about destroying the cabal. I have to agree with Paul on that one, London Paul with that one. It is about taking the cabal out. That's all I know. That's all I know. I cannot venture beyond that point or give specific details because I don't have those details. This is something that is done behind closed doors. Now, with what's going on with Qatar's reaching out to Iran, is this a way to subjugate the Qataris, allowing them to purge the Muslim Brotherhood of the traveling bomb vests, and Hamas, aka Hummus? Is it a way for them to purge these two terror groups out? Is it a way of forget the terror groups? Is it a way to allow Qatar to cough up the deep state, the British and American deep state that is headquartered in the Middle East in Qatar, because our biggest naval operations base is there and it's a major forward operating base for a lot of covert stuff. Is this a maneuver where the Saudis are saying, okay, you know what, let me go ahead and do what, quote unquote, what Bix would say, the good guys, to do what the good guys want us to do, and go ahead and remove ourselves from this kind of predicament? I think it is. I think it's some sort of a move against the cabal. I don't know what the exact details are. I don't think this is personally against Qatar. I don't think it has anything to do with the Qatari people. I think, or those good, or even the good politicians, statesmen that are in Qatar. I think this is a move against the deep state. Now, I don't know what Saudi Arabia's full intentions are. Again, these guys are in it for their own survival, but I do know in this whole entire equation there are counterbalancing forces, and those counterbalancing forces are Russia and China. And I think the Middle East is going to get completely redrawn here, CJ. I think a lot of interesting things are happening, man. It's very hard to tell right now. What other things you have over there, buddy? You got a couple other things related to this story. Go ahead.
Just the, how this whole thing, came to fold in terms of Qatar, the Saudis. Apparently, what some of the reporting is that one of the Qatar news agencies reported basically stating that they were unhappy with the Saudis, or in the event that, stating that through those meetings with Trump that they were accusing Iran and the Qataris of aligning themselves. And now the Qatar government has sent in the FBI to investigate exactly what happened with this news agency. And the U.S. investigators are spinning this as a potential Russian hack. V, imagine that.
Oh my God.
A Russian hack. If
this is what Putin says. You people need to take a pill.
And again, you look at the situation, you start to think of what the Saudis have strategically been doing, as far as trying to raise the prices of oil, right? Strategically raising the price of oil. So how's this escalation going to artificially affect that as well? I saw yesterday myself, some prices at the pump were starting to, to uptick. So there's so many different angles that you could go on this as far as their strategic, doing this. Is it a preemptive strike to say, hey, we don't want to be accused of supporting the terrorists? Let's start blaming Qatar regarding this. The other thing we're starting to see is a little bit of escalation in Syria. Is it look at this, why we do this in Syria, just to take the American people's eyes off of the situation there. We learned that Trump has signed off on over $2 billion of arms and funding going to Kurdish forces, rebel forces, and Iraqis. I mean, so many different geopolitical things that are occurring. It's hard to take exact note of what's happening here.
It is a huge, big ball of wax, man. It is a huge, big ball of wax. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy because, okay, if we're funding the Iraqis and the Kurds to crush ISIS. Okay, that's happening. Then all of a sudden, the Arab states, all of which who have some huge deals lined up with the Russians and Chinese, have decided to, join arms and say, you know what, to Qatar, hey, we're done with you, knock it off. You have 24 hours to get rid of the Muslim Brotherhood of the traveling bomb vests. You got 24 hours to get rid of Hamas, aka Hamas. You got 24 hours to do this. Okay, what that's telling me is this: if Hamas is being attacked, and if the Muslim Brotherhood of the traveling suicide vest is being attacked, and ISIS is being attacked, dude, that's telling me one thing. See, we don't need to know all the details, but if those three entities are being attacked, this is a move against the deep state, man. It's a move against the deep state. This is the move against the cabal. This is a dust-up operation. We know that ISIS has lost 99% of the territory right now. It's pretty much a dust-up at this point. Okay, and we also know, CJ, that Assad. I mean, the U.S. dropped airstrikes on pro-Assad forces in southern Syria. That could be, again, deep state meddling. That could be deep state meddling, again, feeding wrong targeting data to pilots. It could be. Or it could be pilots who are in collusion, or generals who are in collusion with the deep state that are attacking Assad. So these are things that are hard to get hold of. There is such a fog of war in this. It's incredible, man. Absolutely incredible. Which brings us, before we get into some of the domestic stuff here and crypto, I want to talk. Let's talk real quick, CJ, about Schizo America.
Yeah, let's go for it.
You know what I'm saying? Schizo America. I don't know if anybody's watched the Vladimir Putin Megyn Kelly interview, but Putin absolutely made her look like a jackass in front of the entire world stage. This dumb bimbo, who is such a smartass with U.S. politicians and the typical U.S. thing, she thinks she's a smartass. She shows up and talks to Putin at a panel. At the same time, India's Prime Minister Modi is sitting there as well. And Putin absolutely just decimates her. Literally asks her, have you lost your mind? Do you need a pill? Are you obsessed about this? I mean, just was trolling her hardcore. It's like, here he says, he goes, have you lost your mind? Vladimir Putin replied to one of Megyn Kelly's thrusts about alleged Russian perfidy towards U.S. in the gala interview that debuted her new Sunday night Star Chamber on NBC. Vlad put a finger on something there. His view on the late goings-on in America is like that of a proverbial detached Martian observer of the strange earthly doings, rattling his antenna and clicking his mouth parts in mirth. To which retort, by the way, one would have to answer, yes, absolutely. The toils of slow economic collapse, accompanied by the ceaseless effort by various arms of the deep state to spin the quote-unquote narrative around the voting public's collective head, has driven the polity insane. And this, of course, is on view in the bedlam that the U.S. politics has become, Trump and all. I'm waiting for the New York Times to run the 3-column headline that says Russia, racist, misogynist, Islamophobic, to finally bring together the program paranoia of neocon Democratic alliance. It says Mr. Putin does not have to lift a finger to detonate the groaning garbage barrage of U.S. domestic affairs. It's already ignited, and it's faring towards a very peculiar species of civil war. You can be sure that the neocon Democratic axis, or the Dem progressive axis, is determined to get rid of Trump at all costs. Impeachment requires some sort of high crime or misdemeanor. So far, going on a year, they haven't come up with any evidence that the golden golem of greatness acted as a Russian agent in some fashion. And that itself has gotten to be a little suspicious, considering the thousands of clerks in the spinning mills of those legendary 17 intel outfits that the government runs. How could they fail to come up with a video of Donald and Vladimir swatting each other playfully with birch switches in a Moscow banya? 5 TV sitcom writers could have surely come up with an angle. as long as it was a plausible entertainment. In the meantime, Trump prevails, and the mad bull elephant of the Republican herd, majestically swinging his trunk against everything, breaking in the political china shop while trumpeting "Kofi V, Kofi V." I mean, it's brilliant, and it's like you look at what we're becoming. Right, the deep state is literally in schizo mode. They're coming apart. Vladimir Putin is trolling these guys hardcore, telling these people, "Hey, you need a pill. Somebody please get them a pill." Have you seen that interview, CJ?
Absolutely.
It's brilliant. I mean, you can't screw with Vlad. Vlad is 10 steps ahead of this blonde bimbo. Give me a break. It's a joke, man. Absolute joke. And this is how the world's seeing us. Schizo America. We don't have a cohesive, consistent foreign policy. We don't have much of anything, CJ.
It's embarrassing, V.
But it's horrible, man.
It's embarrassing on a national stage. I'm not sure how she was picked to moderate that the meeting that occurred.
Yep.
But then for her to go on a personal attack, taking the deep state agenda directly to Putin, and the article that James wrote on roguemoney.net specifically ties into this timing around her interview and her trying to attempt to, nail Vladimir Putin, with this whole Russian hack, was timed around this whole democratic organized march for truth. These George Soros funded events that are trying to still come up with this whole collusion of Russian hack. And what these people don't understand is that the American people aren't buying it, V.
Yep.
American people are sick of this false narrative.
Absolutely. 1,000%, man. 1,000%. Americans are sick of it completely, wholly, and entirely, man. It's nobody believes it. Nobody thinks it's a great idea. Nobody feels that, hey, you know what? It makes so much sense that it's brilliant. Oh my God, there's something there. You got to be a brain dead libtard to believe that Russian narrative. Oh my God, there's Russian. I mean, when there was emergency lights going on in the White House, dude, did you hear that? People were like, "Oh my God, this must be some sort of signaling code for the Russians." No, it was an ambulance parked in the back that was reflecting red flashing lights. This is a code for the Russians. And that Kofi V that Trump put out on his tweet, they were saying that's his KGB operating name, Kofi V. I mean, you idiots. It's French for it's a term that means so on and so forth. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world, CJ. I don't know where to begin, bro.
America would be blessed to have a president with the skill, the poise, the leadership, the confidence of that Vladimir Putin.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, the next thing, CJ, it seems like the Food Stamp Express has come to a halt, my friend.
Yeah, it's amazing when you start asking for them to do something in return, B, and specifics around, hey, you know what? While you're getting government programs, why don't you maybe try getting a job and working? Isn't that a novel idea?
Exactly. It's what a novel concept, right? So,
yeah.
Go ahead, Siege.
No, I was going to say, so in Alabama, you're seeing an 85% drop in food stamp participation after work requirements are reinstated, V.
Oh, wow. That's racist. That's sexist. That's misogynistic. That's xenophobic. How dare they? Break it down, Siege.
Yeah, so 13 Alabama counties experienced shocking results depending on what natural level of cynicism you live. So, and again, this whole go to work program was taken away. It was Obama era that they actually removed the work as you're getting government programs. So now these counties that are reporting their food stamp participation has dropped 85%, V. Now that they're asked to go out and find some form of a part-time job, some form of employment. And again, this is something that when you make these programs so easy to access, there's no guidelines around it. There's a lot of bad people out there. There's good people. The food stamp program is intended for the right reasons. However, when you don't ask people to meet any type of criteria for it, that's what it leads to. It leads to people abusing the system. Yep. So now we're seeing a purge of that, not only with the work requirements, but also with the potential for drug testing as well in several states.
Yep.
And these social programs, people have to understand these are a drain on not only state but also federal level, and very abusive individuals take advantage of these programs that are out there. So again, this is something that every state could learn from. And hats off to Alabama and for seeing this work requirement reinstated for their state, and it looks like it's going to save them quite a bit of money.
Yep, absolutely. And that's the way to go, man. It's the only way to get these guys done. We got James who just put up an article about what we talked about with Megyn Kelly and Putin shredding her. Go check it out on roguemoney.net. Americans catch a highly edited glimpse of Vladimir Putin schooling the cyber warfare expert par excellence, her name, a.k.a. Megyn Kelly. That being said, CJ, Bitcoin is climbing, my friend.
Wow, just truly amazing. Quickly approaching 3,000. And you take a look across the board, several, cryptocurrencies, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, all of them seeing a huge surge. It looks like today's opening, it looks like it's trickled off just a tad, but again, nowhere near the expectations of where cryptocurrencies and blockchains are going to be going the next several months / years, V.
Yep, exactly, man. Exactly correct. And with that being done, sir, I think we've covered all the topics for today. Why don't you tell the people what is coming up later today?
Yeah, we're going to be having an exclusive interview today that I'm very excited about, V. We are going to be recording that interview, and we'll be releasing it as a roguemoney.net exclusive. And that is with Sherry Peel Jackson. And she is a former IRS auditor, I believe.
Yes, she was an IRS agent, man.
Agent. And so she has came up with a whole speaking series talking about how to fight back against IRS, how not to be intimidated.
Dude, she exposed the fact. She was on Aaron Russo's film. Okay, remember Aaron Russo? What was his name of his film? A Freedom of Fascism.
Yes,
America, Freedom, Fascism. The late Aaron Russo, amazing film. She was on Aaron Russo's documentary. She was the IRS agent alongside with the other IRS agent. I forgot his name. They went on and exposed the fact there's no friggin' law anywhere that says you got to pay income tax. She was arrested and sent to federal prison, bro, for a number of years. And she's out and she's still fighting these guys. She's hardcore. You need to listen in.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that'll be a roguemoney.net exclusive, and we'll alert. Again, so make sure you sign up for roguemoney.net. Make sure you put your email address in there. That way you get those email notifications.
Yep, absolutely. That being said, folks, we're at the end of the show. Take it away, CJ.